Your O'Reilly Factor's on tonight.
My staff recommended recusal. I have studied the rules and considered their comments and evaluation. Therefore, I have recused myself in the matters that deal with the Trump campaign.
Hysteria in Washington as a report says Attorney General Sessions met with the Russian ambassador twice last year. So what's the truth? Talking Points will address it.
As a young girl, Denisha struggled in school and failed third grade twice. But then she was able to enroll in a private center for learning.
The Trump administration believes that private schooling will help poor American kids. So why is there so much resistance to that? Special report coming up.
As a Democrat, is there anything you can get on board with the Trump agenda?
I do like the aspects of border control and more immigration control.
He's not afraid to speak his mind, and that's always important.
Also ahead, Waters searching for a Democrat who likes something about President Trump.
Do you believe in America first?
I guess I don't.
Are you an American?
Caution. You are about to enter the no spin zone. The Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Attorney General Jeff Sessions recuses himself in the Russian investigation. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Okay, here's the deal. The Democratic Party and much of the national press want to produce evidence that the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government in defeating Hillary Clinton. There's no question about that. Because of the Russian hacking, a serious issue, there were hearings held in Congress. And by extension, when then Senator Jeff Sessions testified at his confirmation hearing for Attorney General, the Russian issue came up.
If there is any evidence that anyone affiliated with the Trump campaign communicated with the Russian government in the course of this campaign, what will you do?
Senator Franken, I'm not aware of any of those activities. I have been called a surrogate at a time or two in that campaign, and I did not have communications with the Russians, and I'm unable to comment on it.
Now, last night, the Washington Post published a story that said then Senator Sessions did meet with the Russian ambassador twice last year. But if you were listening closely, the question was about the Trump campaign, not the former senator's duties on the Armed Services Committee. Today, in a press conference, the Attorney General reiterated that he was answering the Russian question in the context of the Trump campaign. He said he did nothing wrong, told the truth, but is recusing himself from the case.
And my staff recommended recusal. They said that since I had involvement with the campaign, I should not be involved in any campaign investigation. I have studied the rules and considered their comments and evaluation. I believe those recommendations are right and just. Therefore, I have recused myself in the matters that deal with the Trump campaign.
Talking Points believes Mr. Sessions did the right thing. The FBI is currently investigating whether Russians influenced the presidential vote and who was involved. The investigation has to be above reproach, and that's why the Attorney General is now out of it. One footnote, not one single Democrat in Congress, not one, called for then Attorney General Loretta Lynch to recuse herself from the Hillary Clinton investigation after she met with Bill Clinton at a Phoenix airport. There was absolutely no call for recusal by the Democrats, so once again, hypocrisy is on full display. Now, here's what should happen going forward. The FBI should continue its investigation, and Director Comey should testify in front of Congress. If during that testimony there's evidence the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians in any way, then a special prosecutor should be appointed. That's what should happen. A methodical investigation by the FBI and a determination by Congress whether a special independent probe is necessary. I think that is a fair, honest, and efficient game plan in this intense political climate. Finally, even though the press does want to destroy President Trump, the American people should want to know. We should want to know if there were any secret dealings with the Russians during the campaign. That's a very important story that should be defined. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight. Reaction joining us from Washington, Hans von Spakovsky, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, and Tom Dupree, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General under President Bush the Younger. Now, gentlemen, we spoke earlier today in relation to this case, and you both said the Attorney General should not recuse himself. I dissented, all right? Now that he has, Mr. Dupree, have you reconsidered?
Bill, my view all along has been I did not want to see the Attorney General pushed into recusal based on the drumbeat from the media and the calls from the Democrats for his resignation. What we heard just earlier today was heartening to me, that he did exactly what he said he was going to do in his confirmation hearing, which was consult with the ethics officials in the Justice Department and reach his own decision, which he did. So I'm satisfied with this resolution, and I respect it.
All right, but he was pushed, Mr. Dupree. He was pushed. The Washington Post pushed him, and so did the Democrats, because he was under intense pressure. So that is true, is it not?
They pushed him, but from my reading or my watching the press conference and what he had to say, I certainly did not get the sense that he was uncomfortable or felt that he was forced into this decision. Rather, this is something that he and his colleagues decided was in the best interest of the country. All
right, Mr. Spakovsky, how do you see it?
Well, the only thing I would say was that I thought it was premature. At the moment, there isn't anything before the Attorney General to recuse himself from. Everything is in the hands of the FBI. Down the road, yeah, it probably would be the proper decision. But look, I don't question what the Attorney General did today. In fact, he showed and demonstrated how different he is from the last two attorney generals who sat in that same position.
And that's the point. If the Trump administration is going to win hearts and minds of the people who don't support it, they're going to have to be transparent to some degree. And everybody knows that, and she admitted it herself, that Attorney General Lynch should not have met privately with Bill Clinton while his wife was under federal investigation for the emails and all of that. Yet the hypocrisy, and I think everybody knows, even the Democrats have to know how hypocritical they are by coming down on Sessions but ignoring Loretta Lynch for almost the exact same thing, by the way, because we don't know what Mrs. Lynch and Mr. Clinton talked about. Nobody was there and it wasn't recorded. And we don't know at this point, although I tend to believe Mr. Sessions, that there wasn't any campaign chat with the Russian ambassador. So hypocrisy off the chart. But again, Sessions did the right thing. And, you know, the Trump administration has got to convince people, Mr. Dupree, that it is in business to represent all Americans, not just a segment of them.
I think that's right. And look, Bill, I think that this is good coming on the heels of the president's address to the joint session of Congress, where he struck a tone of optimism, of reasonableness. And I think the Attorney General's remarks today fall well within that category, that they are going to be reasonable. They're going to take the interest of all the people into account and make decisions on the basis of what's best for the country.
Now, what I expect to see tomorrow, Mr. Spakovsky, is a spin from the left saying that because the Attorney General recused himself, he's somehow under suspicion. Even though a recusal is not that, it's just basically, look, I don't want to have anything tainted. I want the investigation to go along transparent. But I expect to see that spin. Do you?
I do. And I think it's very important to point out to people that of the two meetings that he had, the first one wasn't really a meeting. It was him giving a keynote speech to about 100 ambassadors and their staff. That's hardly the makeup of a conspiracy meeting. And the second meeting was one of about 24 that he held with ambassadors from around the world last year when he was a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. So the idea, again, that there's something
nefarious. But shouldn't he have mentioned that? I think he should have mentioned that, because after the testimony in front of Congress, he did then write questions down, and they was re-asked that question. And it's hindsight. I mean, believe me, it's hindsight. But, you know, if you're going to be in this powerful position, you really got to get everything on the table. You could have said just what you said, Mr. Spakovsky. Hey, look, you know, I met with 100 guys, and the Russian ambassador was one of them. And then in my duties as a a committee member on the House Armed Services. I talked to Sergey, my pal, okay? And not my pal, but I talked to him. Just get it out. Always get it out, Mr. Dupree. Isn't that the best thing? Just get everything out.
That is, and look, you're absolutely right. In hindsight, I think he wishes he said it. But at the same time, there's a big difference between not being fully candid and mentioning everything that possibly could be responsive and actually lying under oath. There's a vast difference between the two.
And Pelosi today called him a liar, and you know. Go ahead.
That distinction is going to be blurred in the weeks ahead. I'm very confident.
Right. Yeah, I know. They're gonna do all that thing. And to a message to Nancy Pelosi from me: get out of the gutter, okay? Just get out of the gutter. Just try to represent the country in an honest way. I just hate that, the liar business. Gentlemen, thanks very much. We really appreciate your time tonight. Next on The Run, fact that the public school system in many poor neighborhoods has collapsed. Standardized test scores prove that. So President Trump wants to allow poor students to attend private schools with government help. He addressed it on Tuesday.
Joining us tonight in the gallery is a remarkable woman, Denisha Merriweather. As a young girl, Denisha struggled in school and failed third grade twice. But then she was able to enroll in a private center for learning, Great Learning Center, with the help of a tax credit and a scholarship program. Today, she is the first in her family to graduate not just from high school, but from college.
Now, you would think most Americans would support anything that would improve the education system, especially in deprived neighborhoods. That's not the case, and Denisha Merriweather knows it.
This is not a partisan issue. This is really moral. Students and parents should have the opportunity to choose the best education for themselves.
And joining us now from Los Angeles, Leo Terrell, civil rights attorney. First of all, Counselor, were you impressed with Denisha herself?
I was impressed with her, but I was opposed to her message, and I felt she was being used as a prop, Bill, if you let me explain. She is representing that because she went to a school that had a voucher system, she turned her life around. What turned her life around, Bill, was that she left her negligent mother and lived with her godmother. And I'm simply saying that that inference was, if you go to a public school, you're going to get a poor education. And that was a wrong message. I think she was being used as a prop. I'm offended by that. Finally, one other point. I went to public schools, Bill O'Reilly. I went to public schools, and I graduated from law school, passed the bar, so I am a product of public schools.
Now, your situation, do you have two parents in the home? Did you have encouragement in the home?
Yes, and that's what I'm talking about. The misdirection is,
but there are a lot of kids who don't have that.
Do it.
A lot of kids who don't have that.
Right, Bill, but here's...
Right.
I don't dispute that, but what she is messing...
All right, let's deal with the facts, not emotion. Okay. Now, in 2010, there was a study, because this has been going on quite some time, all right, that poor children have not gotten the same education that middle class and affluent children get. This study was done by the Department of Education. It found that kids in the D.C. public school, all right, who went into a private situation with help, scholarship help, scored 30% higher in graduation than the public school kids. 30% higher, okay? So there's no doubt that private schools are better for kids than public schools. No?
So you no, because you want me to take one statistic in Washington, D.C.
You want another one? No, I got
go across the entire country?
And the reason we use the Washington study is because it's all black. Okay, here's another one. Brookings Institution. African-American participants in private school choice programs, 24% more likely to enroll in college. 24% more likely to go to college than in public school. Now, are you going to be a denier of all facts? Is that what you're going to do tonight?
No, I am not. I'm simply telling you what you are trying to do is you're trying to indict the public school system across the entire country.
No, I'm trying to give you study statistics. Wharton School of Finance, okay? Pretty good school at University of Pennsylvania, right? Found a bevy of advantages for poor children who, without structure, all right, to go to more disciplined schools that require uniforms, that require standards of achievement you have to do. This is what Wharton School found out.
Fine. Congratulations on that study. Let me give you some facts. You take this voucher system and you give money to religious institutions who are trying to indoctrinate, private institutions
who are trying to indoctrinate? Is that what you just said? Is that what you just said?
To you. Yes, I did say that.
Okay.
Because you know what?
I mean, that's ridiculous. That's bias. That's flat out bias.
Bill, right? I don't want public taxpayers' money to be used for religious institutions. Let me be very
that's
clear.
Fine. You
that's
don't
what you're
like
asking
it.
For.
Fine, but are you looking out for the kids when this every blanking stat shows that private schooling is more advantageous to kids who don't have advantages? Are you looking out for them? I don't think you are.
Yes, sir. You cite 2 studies, and you're saying that's applicable for Los Angeles, for California? Well, I got news for you, Bill. The LA Unified School District is doing fine. Thank you very much. We have academic decathlon winners here. We have people who are outstanding public school teachers.
Right. That's
you're indicting every
anecdotal,
public school teacher across. Oh, it's not.
You're denying.
No, it's not, Bill.
You're denying. All right.
You're
denying students
how did I get through?
in bad neighborhoods a lifeline, and it's because of politics. I
was born and raised initially in South. No, Bill. I was born and raised in South Central LA, and I went through public school, and I'm a good example of how the public school system works.
It's not all about you, and these studies are rock solid. All right, good debate. Good debate.
Thank you.
Directly ahead. Outrage of the Week segment tonight. As we reported last night, some far-left loons demonized President Trump for bringing the widow of slain Navy SEAL Ryan Owens to the speech Tuesday night.
This poor woman, this widow who has lost her husband, she is in desperate grief right now.
She's in love with her husband still.
And in love with her husband.
And what did you think of
and to use that as just put another notch on his belt. And what's he thinking about? My ratings.
And how many?
Record applause. Record
what is it?
I'm going to get an Emmy for this. Most applause for a dead soldier on my watch. I mean, this is the sickness of this man.
You're now Judge Jeanine Pirro. You see your Saturday nights at 9 p.m. You know, look, I think we all know, and we don't have to really discuss that man. All right, we know who he is, we know what he does, and the fact that he can sit there on national television and say this vile stuff, you know, look, and if you patronize, you know, the people who give him a forum, that's up to you. But the general thing, he's not alone. He's not alone. You know, this prop using the woman, this kind of thing. It's despicable.
Well, it's not only despicable, but it is blatantly political, it's transparent, it is disgusting, and it's small. But more than that, it's part of their agenda. It's divisive. And, you know, I just want to say one thing. For that man to look at this woman and call her a poor woman, and to say that she's being used. I mean, first of all, Moore ought to know that she's not a poor woman. She could take him, if you look at those guns, in a second. She is a strong, brave woman. And the fact that Congress, both houses, applauded tells me that both sides of the aisle understand the respect that we as Americans owe to members of the military. That man is fringe. And everyone else who's criticizing this widow and also the widows of all of those killed in the military.
I'm just wondering what the presidents of the networks that do this are thinking, because we're going to roll another piece of tape, and this is on ABC News. Go.
I thought that was so exploitive. I thought he exploited that widow. My God, how do you exploit the woman who is grieving over the loss of her husband, the father of her children, when you sent him there without the appropriate ground support?
You know,
that woman has no idea what that mission was, number one. So she's speaking about something she doesn't know. And to imply that this widow is incapable of making her own decision about where to go and how, you know, to basically grieve about her husband is so insulting to her and other women, is it not?
It is, and for a woman to make that claim and say she's being exploited as if she can stand in the shoes of Karen Owens, the wife of the Navy SEAL, is quite presumptive.
So you've got to think, you know, in the halls of power at these networks, I mean, do they have any... Are they hearing this kind of thing?
Bill,
I worked at ABC, and it was a while back, but
Bill,
it could never have happened when I was there.
It's about ratings now.
That show's dying.
Well, maybe that's why they're doing everything they can.
You think that's going to get ratings?
I don't think so, but I don't think much of that comment or anything that they say
I mean, it's just so. I think that turns off 80 85% of the American public. They're going the same thing you and I are going. This is outrage.
It is outrage, and 78% in the Snap poll, said that we do owe her. They had a positive reaction.
Right.
And these people are small, divisive. They have an agenda, and you know what, Bill? It's going to play out for the next 4 years.
And I think they'll destroy themselves. I really do. I'm of the opinion that this crew, this far left crew, is going to destroy themselves.
I agree.
Judge Pirro, check her out Saturday at 9. Plenty more has. Factor moves along. Truth Serum segment tonight. Two very interesting situations, beginning with a judge in Michigan sentencing a woman to jail because she mocked family members of a man killed by a drunk driver.
These people are here grieving, saddened, because a senseless act took away their loved one, and you all are sitting around here like it's a joke? Not in courtroom 502, not today and not any other day. Ma'am, you are being taken into custody for criminal contempt. Your disruptive and disrespectful behavior disrupted today's proceedings, and you, ma'am, are going to the Wayne County Jail for 93 days for direct criminal contempt. Anybody else want to go? Try it.
Wow. With us now, Truth Serum correspondents Eric Shawn and Shannon Breen. Tell me more about this story, Shannon.
Okay, so there was a young woman, 25 years old, who was in a head-on collision. She admitted she was drunk at the time. She killed a man, severely injured his fiance who was in that car. They have 5 kids, so the woman is now a single mother. So this 25-year-old has admitted to all this. She's in court getting ready to find out her sentence. The family of the man who was killed, they're giving victim impact statements, talking about him, talking about the children left behind. There were people snickering and laughing and talking in the court.
During
and you saw during
segments.
those segments from the family members who lost this man, the judge was having none of it. She called a couple of them out.
So the woman who was sentenced to 90 days in jail that we saw leave the courtroom, she was the mother of this 25-year-old?
Young woman, yes, who's admitted to being drunk. She was the mother. She apparently, when she was being taken out, got even worse and louder and disruptive, and the judge said, that's it, 93 days in jail. Now, since then, she let her spend the night in jail. She came back the next day, got a full dressing down and said, all right, I'm going to give you 1 night in jail. But I hope you've learned your lesson, because although your daughter's being sentenced and she got 3 to 15 years in jail on this, she said, you've taken away someone else's family member, and you should never be laughing.
All right. So she didn't get the full 93, just got 1.
She got 1. Think about it.
And we don't know if her attitude has changed or not. We don't know yet.
She said that she was under a lot of stress and that she acted inappropriately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the 25-year-old, was she sentenced?
Yeah, 3 to 15 years is what they're giving her so far. And yeah, she admitted to the whole thing.
Right.
So there are a lot of grieving people in that room. And you know how it is. When families come in to give these statements, they're pouring out their hearts and their emotions.
No, sure. I mean, it's outrageous. And I applaud the judge. I'm too bad we didn't see her do that. But I applaud the judge for what she said and how she handled it. Okay. Now, on Tuesday night, we wanted Eric Shawn, who is one of the truthiest guys ever, very truthy, okay, to check out President Trump's statement. Roll it.
According to data provided by the Department of Justice, the vast majority of individuals convicted of terrorism and terrorism-related offenses since 9/11 came here from outside of our country. We have seen the attacks at home, from Boston to San Bernardino to the Pentagon, and yes, even the World Trade Center.
So he says most of the terrorists who've done damage emanated overseas. What's the deal?
Not completely truthy. It seems to be that he was relying on a study from Jeff Sessions' office last year in the DOJ of 580 convictions. 380 were foreign-born. So there you have the majority.
Okay, well, let's explain that. So there have been 580 terror convictions, and 380 were sentences handed out to foreign-born individuals. So what's wrong with that?
But what's wrong with that is some of those cases were overseas terrorist attacks. There were other issues and crimes.
Well, they weren't all domestic.
That's exactly right. So the latest we have it is from the New American Foundation did a study where they found of the jihadi attacks and jihadi plots since 9/11, 192 were born in the U.S., 180 were foreign.
So it's about 50-50.
About that.
Okay.
But not overwhelmingly foreign.
Isn't it, though, when anybody makes a point, and I do this every day because I write Talking Points memo, that sometimes you make a point, but you exaggerate slightly, okay, slightly. In this case, it looks to me like the president exaggerated slightly. All right, he said that they were more overseas, than here, and it's about 50-50. Would I be too kind to Mr. Trump?
No, I think you'd be near what correct. I think if you look at some of the attacks, for example, you got Saeed Farouk, San Bernardino. He was born in the U.S., but his wife
was born in Pakistan.
She was born in Pakistan.
Right.
The Sinar brothers, they were foreigners. They were from
this is Boston Marathon.
Boston Marathon. Right. Najib Ali went back to some of the cases most people don't know about. Subway bomber plot from Afghanistan, and the latest.
Oh, look at the Blind Sheikh. Blind Sheikh blew up the first head. You know, he's overseas guy.
We let him in.
And and then everybody to 9/11, every one of them, all 19, they're overseas. So, you know, I think the nitpicking is what I'm disturbed about. But I appreciate your accuracy and appreciate your. I don't know what I appreciate about Bream, but I know.
We're going to think of something.
I know I'll have it by next week.
Something.
We come right back. Bernie Goldberg on people making money off hating Donald Trump. And then Waters on whether some regular folks who vote Democrat see anything good in the president. We're coming right back.
The O'Reilly Factor, the #1 cable news show for 16 years and counting.
Thanks, stay with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In the Weekdays of Bernie segment tonight, profiteering from despising President Trump.
Trump may have changed his tone, but that doesn't change the content of what he said. One senior White House official even told a reporter that the speech was just nationalism with an indoor voice. You know who also said troubling things in a calm voice? Hannibal Lecter.
We're making a list of immigrants. We're rounding up the bad ones. Make America great again, Clarice.
Joining us now, Miami, Bernard Goldberg. So Mr. Colbert's ratings have skyrocketed since he took a drastic anti-Trump posture. And that sends a message to everybody in the TV media. You can make money doing this, right?
Bashing Donald Trump can be very good for business, no question. It isn't just Colbert at night. MSNBC last month finished second in cable news, so they're doing better than they've done. It's a simple, uncomplicated business model. They know what their audience wants. They give them what they want. I'm not accusing anybody of hypocrisy. I think Colbert and MSNBC people really do detest Donald Trump, but they're giving them what they want. We live in a polarized America. People want to hear what they want to hear. They want their own views validated. That's what's happening. But just for the record, bashing Barack Obama was also good for business. Not late-night television because there are no conservatives there, but bashing Barack Obama was good for talk radio, was good for conservative media in general, was good for websites that were created during his presidency. It's business, and I don't like it personally, but that's the way it is.
Okay, but you never saw, and if it had happened, that they used a movie clip from a heinous villain.
Absolutely true.
About Barack Obama. Yeah. It would have been.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, people would have been fired.
This is.
Well, but let me get my question out here. People would have been fired. There would have been demonstrations, charges of racism. All of that would have happened. Okay, so there's one president.
Absolutely.
One president who there were rules of engagement. Rules of engagement. All right, Barack Obama, and now there are no rules. None about Donald Trump. So I raised this question. I don't know whether you heard the discussion with Judge Pirro about how ABC News, which runs The View, okay, could allow that kind of stuff, that this woman, was somehow hauled into the floor of Congress and manipulated, how they could allow it. I couldn't. If I were the news division chief, that never would have happened under me. And I don't care how much money you would make.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. The level of animosity against Donald Trump is different from anything we've seen in the past. There is a feeding frenzy. There is a feeding frenzy aimed at Donald Trump in a way that there wasn't aimed at, let's say, Ronald Reagan or George W. Bush. They salivate more when they go after Republicans, but this is different. There's no question about that.
So when you're a decision maker in a media landscape, should there be any rules at all for what the anchor or the comedian or the host, whatever it may be, is allowed to present when you're talking about a president or you know, some other really notable person? Should there be any rules at all or nothing?
No, there should be rules, but in a way you're asking the wrong person, because I would change about 10,000 things that I see going on.
All right, let me micro it
television
down. If
these
you
days.
were producing the Colbert Show, and he's number 3 in late night, as he was for the first 2 or 3 years he was on, then you discover the magic egg, all right? If we go after Trump every night, the other two, Kimmel and Fallon, they're more entertainment-oriented. They're not doing that. And then boom. Would you continue to do it?
Bill, I'm telling you, you're asking the wrong guy, because I don't do things for ratings. I appreciate ratings. I know this is a business we're in. I'd rather get good ratings than mediocre ratings, but I would not say to Colbert, I would not say to him, do anything you have to, bash him in the most unmerciful way, because it's going to get us bigger ratings and we'll be no, I wouldn't do that, and I'd lose my job before he'd lose his job.
All right.
I just can't do that. It's not something. I don't like that kind of stuff.
Okay, Bernie,
I'm not against doing jokes. By the way, Johnny Carson, very quickly, Johnny Carson did jokes about everybody. I have no idea what his politics were. Everybody knows
you can do
Colbert's
satire, and
politics.
satire is fine, but spread it out a little bit.
Right.
Waters on deck. He talked to some Democrats, regular folks, about President Trump. Is there anything they like? Waters is next. Back in the book segment tonight, Waters' World, as reported last night, CNN's Snap poll taken right after President Trump's speech on Tuesday showed overwhelming support for what the president said, and that includes Democrats. So we sent Waters out to talk to some of them.
Are you a Republican or Democrat?
I'm a Democrat. I'm a moderate, actually.
I guess I'm a Democrat.
You sound really proud of that.
Democratic Party kind of let me down.
Hillary actually won.
Then why isn't she in the White House?
Only reason why is because of the Russian.
The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming.
Is there anything you like about Donald Trump?
Not particularly. I'm not really a fan.
What do you like about Donald Trump?
I think he's transparent.
I like that he honored Owens, the Navy SEAL that lost his life in the raid.
Is there anything that you like about Donald Trump?
I don't like nothing about Donald Trump. Nothing. They should impeach him. It's a crime for him trying to deport people, the immigrants.
Well, if deporting illegal immigrants was a crime, then Obama would have been impeached.
Well, he didn't deport anybody.
No one?
No, not that I know of.
You're never too old to learn something, and tonight I learned something.
Do you think on the policy front there's anything you can get on board with the Trump agenda?
I don't think he's very open-minded, and I'm a pretty liberal person.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Don't get too sassy, Mr. Attinger.
Is there anything that you like about Donald Trump?
I like that he...
Don't you think I'm brilliant? Sure. Sure.
Do you think there's anything you can get on board with Donald Trump's agenda?
No. Nothing.
So you don't want to destroy ISIS?
I ain't got nothing against them. I mean, they ain't doing nothing to me.
What?
Trump says he wants to buy American and hire American.
We could use the work, and I'm pro-Americans working, absolutely.
Very good. So I think you're coming on board the Trump train.
Oh, perhaps I am.
Can you say choo-choo?
Choo-choo.
Well, I like that he says he's trying to bring manufacturing jobs back, but the way he goes about it, I don't really agree with. He wants to get rid of NAFTA, which I think is a terrible idea. It's not just about America, is it?
Do you believe in America first?
No, I guess I don't.
That'll be your decision to make.
Do you believe in America first?
I think that...
It's a yes or no question.
Oh, wake up, honey.
Trump is promising massive tax relief to hardworking Americans.
Mm-hmm. That's a great thing, because I'm a shopaholic. So.
Where can I get shoes like that?
Mandy's.
I hear noise. You call?
Do you support the construction of the wall?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't think that all immigrants are bad.
I do like the aspects of border control and more immigration control.
So you believe in open borders?
Pretty much, as long as people are well vetted.
How do you vet someone if there's no wall?
I have no idea.
Are you sure you're not a Trump supporter?
Not officially. Perhaps behind closed doors I am.
I think it's time for you to come out of the closet.
Well, I'm out.
Do you know who I am?
You're a good-looking man.
Thank you.
Real soft, delicate features.
You know, you look familiar. What is your name?
David Schwimmer.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't understand.
I'm Waters, and this is my world.
Of course I know this is your world.
Here's Waters. I think you confused a lot of people during that segment.
I usually do.
Yeah. What do you have coming up Saturday at 8 o'clock?
So we have someone that says that this woman who's the Navy SEAL widow was a prop, so I'm going to debate that person.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're in for the fight of their life. And we have this pro-Trump priest, which is making waves in New Jersey, saying all these wild things and has the congregation going wild.
A priest?
Yes.
Catholic priest?
Catholic priest.
Really?
Yes.
And from the pulpit he's saying
Yes, he is. Quite a provocateur.
Okay. Waters at 8 o'clock on Saturday. And I want you to get down to Mandy's with the shoes. All right?
Leopard?
Do a little shopping.
Okay.
And,
Can I expense that?
Yeah. Sure, whatever you want. I'm sure Mandy will be happy to see you.
Okay.
Factor tip of the day, Factor Factory. Premium membership at BillO'Reilly.com exploding. I think it's because of our fair coverage of the president, which continues on the website. Killing Jesus will be out in paperback on March 14th. Good read during Lent. Old School Life in the Sane Lane, out on March 28th. Cracked the Amazon Top 100 yesterday as folks order in advance. You can get it free if you become a premium member. And just 200 tickets left to see Miller, Waters, and me in Omaha and Tacoma, Washington, the last weekend in March. Website has details. Now the mail. John Frox, Angelo, Texas. It was very disappointing to watch Vice President Pence repeatedly dodge your questions, O'Reilly. I wanted to know whether federal funding will be denied sanctuary cities. So do I, John. President Trump indicated that would happen in my interview with him on the Super Bowl Sunday. Hugh Jacobson, Prineville, Oregon. Pence is a nice guy, but he does not answer questions. Tony Patty, Preston, Connecticut. Bill, I would think someone as talented as you could trick the vice president into answering questions. Hypnotize. Thomas McCogan, Naples, Florida. Mr. O, you tried to push the vice president into endorsing amnesty. Robert Pisano, Oxnard, California. It was refreshing to hear the Democrat governor of Colorado not bash President Trump. Tom Kichia, Denver, Colorado. I am a 30-year resident, and Governor Hickenlooper is spinning the homeless situation. You're right, Bill. They've moved to Denver for easy access to pot. Many of them have. Jim Bell, Coles Point, Virginia. So the Democrats say President Trump used Corinne Owens as a prop. They were more than willing to use the Khans, whose son was killed in combat, at the convention. They weren't props? Excellent point, Jim. But two thoughts. Not all Democrats are crass enough to criticize Mrs. Owens. It's the fringe far left basically doing that. And the Khans weren't props. They are true believers in the Democratic platform. But there is no difference in the presentation, and you are very smart to point that out for us. George Bosch, Brooklyn, New York. Mr. O, Miller's bucket list was one of the most entertaining bits I've seen. You two would have been great in vaudeville. You should catch us in person, George. We'll talk about vaudeville. Finally, tonight, fact tip today, a spiritual lesson. I should have little wind chimes here and incense. This week, Mardi Gras was celebrated all over the world, the party signifying the run-up to Ash Wednesday yesterday. The thinking being you have fun before you repent. So I asked an urchin what he's giving up for Lent, which is a Christian tradition that you give up something. He answered nothing. He was going to be proactive and do one act of random kindness for each of the 40 days before Easter Sunday. I told him he should write those down in a journal and that he could do more than one if the opportunity arose. The lesson this young boy imparts might be considered by everybody, not just believers. If we all did at least 40 acts of kindness over the next 6 weeks, that would make a huge difference in the world, would it not? Factor tip of the day. And that is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, which is different from BillO'Reilly.com.